There is one exact number where your money stops being something you feed and starts being something that feeds you. It is not a vibe. It is not a feeling. It is a specific balance, $51,400. That is the point where an account built on $300 a month finally starts earning more every single year than the paycheck that has been funding it. And here is the cruel part. Most people cross that line right around year 10. That is also the exact year most people quit. They walk away feeling like failures at the precise moment the math finally tipped in their favor. So today, I want to show you that line, why almost nobody sees it coming, and why the 10-year mark is the most dangerous year of your entire financial life. To do this without any illusions, let me introduce you to Lisa. Lisa is 28, and to make sure the math has nowhere to hide, we are going to lock every single variable for 30 years. No lucky stock picks, no perfect timing, nothing you couldn't do yourself. First, her contribution. $300 a month, $3,600 a year, straight into a broad market index fund. She never tries to guess the top or the bottom. She just keeps buying. Second, her return, 7% a year. Now, you might have heard the stock market averages closer to 10%, and historically, the S&P 500 does, but inflation quietly eats about 3% of your purchasing power every year. So 7% is the honest number. It is the return that actually makes your life better after inflation has taken its cut. We are going to use the honest number because Lisa deserves the truth, and so do you. Now, why do so many people quit at year 10? It comes down to a flaw in how the human brain is wired. Your brain expects a straight line. You put in $300, so you expect to see $300 of visible progress. That is fair. That is intuitive, and that is exactly the trap. Because compound growth is not a straight line, it is a curve. And for the first several years, that curve hugs the straight contribution line so tightly that your eye genuinely cannot tell them apart. You are pouring effort in, and the reward looks identical to just stuffing cash under a mattress. Let me walk you through it, year by year, so you feel what Lisa feels. Year 1. Lisa contributes $3,600, 12 months of discipline, 12 months of saying no to things she wanted, and at the end of that year, the market hands her back a grand total of $118. $118. For a full year of sacrifice, the reward feels almost insulting. Year 3. The market's gain for the entire year is around $700. That is about $60 a month. Meanwhile, she is shoveling in $300 a month of her own money. The growth is basically invisible next to her own effort. Year 5. Now, she has contributed $18,000 of her own money. Her balance sits at $21,500. Her gain this year is about $1,300, roughly $100 a month. She is officially beating inflation now. But be honest, $100 a month after 5 years of sacrifice still does not feel like wealth. It feels like a slightly better savings account. And then we arrive at year 10, the breaking point. Lisa has now put in $36,000 of her own money over a decade. Her balance is about $52,000. And the market's gain in that 10th year alone is about $3,400. Sit with that. After 10 years, the market is finally almost matching her own $3,600 a year contribution, but it is still a hair under it. So one night, Lisa sits at her kitchen table and does the honest math. 10 years, $36,000 invested, and only $16,000 in gains to show for it. Meanwhile, her friends are at dinner bragging about some stock that tripled. She feels slow. She feels like she played it too safe. And in that moment, she wants to quit. This is where most people quit. And here is the tragedy. She is quitting one step before the entire game changes. Because here is the mechanism almost nobody explains. Compound growth does not run on what you put in. It runs on what is already sitting there. Watch. 7% of $10,000 is $700. But 7% of $250,000 is $17,500. The percentage never changes. Only the size of the pile it grips onto changes. Your job is not to feed the pile forever. Your job is to make the pile big enough that 7% of it becomes real money. And that gives us a formula you could write on a napkin. Take your yearly contribution and divide it by your expected return. $3,600 divided by 0.07. That equals $51,400. That is the crossover line. And it splits your investing life into 3 distinct stages. Think of them as 3 rungs on a ladder. Rung 1 is the starter floor. This is everything below $51,400. On this rung, your own paycheck is doing more work than the market. It feels like a grind, like a glorified savings account, because the compounding is barely visible. And here is the thing nobody warns you about. Nearly every account on Earth sits on this rung for its entire first decade. Feeling like it is not working is not a sign you are failing. It is a sign you are exactly where everyone starts. Rung 2 is the crossover itself. $51,400. For the very first time, the market's gain in a single year equals everything you personally put in that year. Your account has, at last, started to pull its own weight. This is the line Lisa was 1 year away from when she wanted to quit. Rung 3 is where it catches fire, and you hit it when your balance is exactly 5 times the crossover line, around $257,000. At that balance, a 7% return throws off about $18,000 a year. That is 5 times Lisa's original contribution. At this point, your own paycheck becomes a rounding error. You're basically just standing back and watching the account do the heavy lifting for you. Now, let me show you the strangest rule in all of this, because it changes how you should think about time itself. Not every dollar you invest is worth the same. A single dollar Lisa invests in year 1 has 30 full years to grow, and it turns into about $8. But a dollar she invests in the final month has no time left at all. It is still worth just $1. Let that reshape how you see her 30 years. The $18,000 Lisa puts in during just her first 5 years quietly grows into $123,000 by year 30. But the $54,000 she contributes in her last 15 years, 3 times as much money going in, only grows to about $95,000. The small pile of early money beats the large pile of late money easily, because the early money had the one thing money cannot buy back: time. Which leads to the single most expensive mistake in investing, and it is not the one you think. If Lisa had simply started 1 year later, at 29 instead of 28, skipping that first $3,600 contribution costs her $28,000 by the finish line. $28,000 from sitting out 1 year. The most expensive year in investing is not a market crash. It is the year you waited. So let us go back to that kitchen table and let us follow both versions of Lisa. In one version, she quits. She stops adding her $300 a month, but she is smart enough not to withdraw. She just leaves that $52,000 alone and never touches it again. By year 30, on its own, with zero new money, it grows into $210,000. In the other version, she does nothing heroic. She just keeps adding the same boring $300 a month she was already adding. By year 30, her balance is $366,000. The gap between quietly quitting and quietly continuing is $156,000. Not from working harder, not from being smarter, simply from not stepping off the line. and the ending is spectacular. By year 30, Lisa has contributed $108,000 total across her whole life. Her balance is $366,000. And her market gain in that final year alone is $24,500. In a single year, the market hands her almost 7 times what she put in that year, and more than her entire first decade of gains combined. After this point, the account roughly doubles every 10 years on the strength of the market alone. She is done pushing. The snowball is rolling itself. Now, I promised you the honest version, so let me show you the ways this beautiful math breaks in the real world. Because it does. First, early exits. Lisa needs the money for a house down payment at year 12. She walks out with about $67,000. That is not nothing, but she cashed out at the absolute floor of the climb and missed the entire vertical explosion that was about to happen. Compounding punishes people who leave early hard. Second, fees. A fund with a 1% expense ratio sounds tiny, almost invisible. Over 30 years, that 1% quietly removes $65,000 from Lisa's final balance. That is roughly 17% of her entire wealth. Gone. To a number that looked too small to care about. Check the expense ratio on every fund you own. That one habit is worth more than most stock picks. Third, lower returns. If the real return is only 5% instead of 7%, everything shifts. The crossover line moves up to $72,000, and her 30-year balance drops from $366,000 down to $250,000. Lower returns don't just shrink the ending. They push the finish line farther away. And fourth, the tax on waiting. Say someone doesn't start until they are 43. They cannot simply match Lisa by trying a little harder. To catch up, a 43-year-old would have to invest $600 a month for 22 straight years, handing over $158,000 of their own money just to reach a number Lisa hit by contributing only $108,000. The tax on waiting is real, and it is paid in extra dollars because it can no longer be paid in time. So here is what I want you to take from Lisa. The hardest part of investing is not picking the right fund. It is surviving rung 1, the boring floor, long enough to reach the crossover, when almost every signal in your body is screaming that it isn't working. It is working. It is just quiet. $51,400 is where the quiet ends. If this changed how you see your own account, do me 3 quick favors. Hit subscribe so the next breakdown finds you. Tap like because it genuinely helps this reach someone who is about to quit at year 10. And leave a comment. How many years are you from your own crossover line? I read them, and I would love to know where you are on the ladder. I will see you in the next one.